He's gonna
I do magic act. By the way, it says grizzly bear is indifferent to man, has no fear of man, will attack you if it feels like it.
Yeah.
The best thing to do is play
it.
dead. He'll rarely sustain his attack if you play dead. Remember, he's very big, and the weight alone can kill.
I wouldn't fuck with a grizzly bear.
No, not you, Penn.
I wouldn't fuck.
Although you look like a grizzly
similar.
bear. Holy shit!
All those things are true.
Probably similar.
Hey,
Yeah.
Penn Jillette, everyone. We just went to the TV. I fucked up a pretty good rap that was happening on our show, but still, Kreskin was on the dumb fucking TV. We hate Kreskin.
Kreskin was on.
Wait, what is the
And we
name?
know you're not a big fan
I've
of
read
Kreskin.
I read some of the book. What is the chapter? There was one chapter with Kreskin's name in it.
Yeah, asking him to sue me. You know, it's amazing. When I was 12 years old or something, you know, Kreskin was on some TV show. And it wasn't Carson. You know that because Carson would not allow the stupid fuck on.
Right.
That was an absolute Johnny Carson rule.
Oh,
really? Carson was really pro-science.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, Carson was a skeptic and gave a huge amount of money to the James Randi Society. And Carson would call me up about bullshit. You know, he was a real fan.
Wow.
And,
Huge into astronomy.
He
too.
also talked, Carson talked privately a lot about being an atheist, but always felt guilty he didn't talk about it more publicly. So Kreskin was on some show, some jive-ass show. Mike Douglas. Let's say Mike Douglas just for fun. And he was demonstrating his ESP kit, his science kit, with the ESP cards and this pendulum that did micro-idiomatic movements. You know, you think something and the pendulum moves away.
moving.
And I was really into science as a child. And my parents, I'm not from a wealthy family. I'm from Western Massachusetts, a dead factory town. So buying stuff was a big deal. My parents would buy stuff for me if it was science oriented. So they bought me this piece of shit ESP kit, thinking it was science, right? Because I'd seen him do this experiment on TV, and I was into science. And then because my sister's 23 years older than me and had already moved out, I was raised essentially as an only child. So my parents would have to sit and do this piece of shit game with me. And we did that because, I took it seriously. You know the kind of guy I am. So I'm taking like tallies, and other kids just throwing the pendulum around and shit. But I'm taking tallies and doing it carefully. And then like a few weeks later, I'm in our public library, which I went all the time. And if all of us are familiar with the Dewey Decimal System, and we know that
800's pure science.
Absolutely. Right around the juggling books, and when I say books, I mean book, because I was juggling a lot then, were the magic books, and I take out the juggling book, and I was working all this stuff. I took out the magic book, and there was a book, I think, by Dunninger on mental magic. He was a big mentalist in the 40s and 50s, huge star on radio. And so I'm thumbing through the book, and there in the magic book is the exact same trick that Kreskin had done and how to do it. And it wasn't science. It was a bullshit magic trick. And because I was 12, maybe not, maybe because I'm psychotic, but let's say it's because I was 12, I completely flipped out and I dropped out of all science. I hated science.
Wow.
I wouldn't go near. I was embarrassed in front of my parents. I was miserable. I was horrible. It was terrible.
Was it because you at that point had thought science was a gag?
At that point, I thought, well, scientists lie to you.
Oh, okay.
Scientists lie to children. Why should I be involved with them? And I hated magic because they were part of it and the whole thing. And it wasn't really until I was 18 and met Teller and Amazing Randy that I turned around. So I wrote this story to for a Skeptics magazine about how much I hated Kreskin, right? I said, because you might think he turned me on to skepticism, but he didn't. He just stole money from my parents and stole time and love from our family.
That's why the chapter is called "Maybe That Thief Kreskin Will Sue Me This Time."
So I get this letter, and this is when I'm living in New York. Remember, I'm living in New York. I'm on Broadway, right? I'm not married. I don't have children, and my parents are both alive and healthy, okay? All of that is important. And I get this note from Kreskin's attorneys saying he's going to sue me. And I just got rock fucking hard. I was so happy because now I could bring forth all this vengeance
And
from my
expose
12-year-old
it. Yeah,
self
yeah.
and just go crazy. So I call my lawyer and I go, "Oh, Kreskin's suing me. I'm sorry." He goes, "I'm sure we can get out of it." I go, "We're going to get out of it. This is very, very exciting. I want to be sued. I want to take him down to Chinatown.
Set
This
precedents.
will be fucking great." And so I tell him, the New York Times v. Alabama civil rights, nothing compared to what I do. I've got so much fucking money. I've got nothing to spend it on. Let's use it all to take down Kreskin. So my lawyer writes this note saying, first of all, you can't sue Penn and Teller because it was only Penn that said it. And second of all, any reading of this means he didn't really mean you broke into the house. He means that he disagrees with you. Da-da-da-da-da. And the lawyer of Kreskin writes back and says, okay, we won't sue you. So I call my lawyer and go, "What do you mean he won't sue me? He's got to sue me." He goes, "Penn, you can't force someone to sue you." So then, just to make how much, I'm getting a little carried away. Please forgive me.
I love it.
So we cut to about 10 years ago, I guess. We're living in Vegas, and Debbie Reynolds has a hotel there, the Debbie Reynolds Hotel, and I'm friends with Carrie Fisher, and I've also felt Debbie Reynolds' breast, which is a whole other story.
Ooh.
A very good story. I'll take a little. I was at the Porno Awards.
We want to hear this.
I was at the Porno Awards, and I'm there with Nina Hartley and Al. I'm there with Al Goldstein and a few other people, and Gina Fine. And Nina Hartley comes over, and I'm sitting at a table that also has at it Carrie Fisher and Buck Henry. And Nina Hartley comes over and says, "Penn, do you like my new tits?" And I go, "Very much so." And she says, "Feel them." So I feel her tits, and they're wonderful. And then she leaves, and Carrie Fisher turns to me. I'd never met her. Carrie Fisher turns to me and goes, "Would you like to feel my breasts? I've been in legitimate features." That was her way of putting it. And I said, "Yes, very much so." So I feel Carrie Fisher's tits, which incidentally, greatest, fabulous, unbelievable, breathtaking tits. Princess Leia.
And that's
wow.
fantastic.
What
yeah,
year?
To be able to,
What year was
this would
that?
have been, I don't know, 90s sometime.
All right, fair enough.
Maybe early
That's
90s.
great.
Fabulous. And then later on in Vegas, I got together with Carrie Fisher, and we went over to her mother's casino, and she said, you should meet my mother. Then Debbie Reynolds came out, and Carrie Fisher said, Penn, you love to tell stories. You're good at telling stories, and you should feel up my mother, because that would be a great story for you. And she said, "So, Mom, can Penn feel your breast?" And Debbie Reynolds goes and feels each of her breasts and chooses one, and then says, "Yes, feel this one." So I feel Debbie Reynolds' tits. And I tell this story on the radio in some, dog fuck town. Good Morning Dog Fuck was the name of the show,
Starring dog and fuck.
I go on the show, and I do all these incredibly unpleasant jokes. But then one point during it, I go, and I felt up Debbie Reynolds because she's a friend of. They got more hate mail on feeling up Debbie Reynolds than they'd ever gotten on anything.
Wow.
So be ready. Be ready. Okay, so I know Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah, our people will hate you because you didn't kill her.
And so Kreskin is playing the Debbie Reynolds Hotel, okay? And Teller, me, a couple of showgirls, or I don't know what the plural is. I guess showgirls. I thought it was maybe showgaggle or something. And Lance Burton and a juggler named Michael Goudot, who also writes on bullshit.
Like a gang out of the Warriors.
Absolutely. And then the final person was the topless bull rider from one of the shows. Woman was there with us. And we all go in, and we all pay full price for our afternoon tickets for the Kreskin show, because we're going to go see him. And we go in there and we sit down, and the show's supposed to start at like 2 p.m, and there's nobody there. There's people that got tickets with the buffet and stuff, and then
Right.
us sitting in a booth. And the show doesn't start. It's like 10 minutes late. In Vegas, shows start right on time. So I want you to get back in there so you can gamble. Mm-hmm. And so we're sitting there, and finally tell him I decide we have to pee. So we get up and we go, we piss, we come back, and the maitre d' says, "You're not allowed back in." And I said, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "Kreskin has said you're not allowed into the showroom. He will not start as long as Penn and Teller are in the showroom." And I go, "Well, we haven't been disruptive. You can tell we're not drunk. Here are our receipts. We have the tickets. We're going in." And he goes, "I'm sorry, I can't let you go in." And I said, well, then you better call Metro. because the police are going to have to take us out. And now I'm all excited because now not only am I in a lawsuit, but also I get to go limp. It's like I'm in Birmingham. And I tell Lance Burton, call the local paper and bring photographers in because I want pictures of Penn and Teller being taken in handcuffs out of the Debbie Reynolds Theater by a guy who's going to do card tricks. This would be fabulous, And we sit there, I have never heckled in my life. I'm not disruptive. I mean, here on the show, I'm loud and aggressive. That's my fucking job. You invited me on. If we were just out hanging out, I'm not going to heckle or something.
No,
but I am going to I'm going to sit there full of hate. Yeah. But he will be able to detect that psychically, but there won't be anything out there.
Yeah.
So now we are 20 minutes after his show's supposed to start. And let me tell you what this guy does. He walks out on stage 20 minutes late with his head kind of down and kind of sniffing. And he says, I want to apologize for being late today. My mother, 97 years old, is in the hospital. And it was kind of an uncomfortable time. And I just got a call. And thank God she's going to be okay. And the audience applauds. Now, there is a chance. There's a chance his mother was really sick. And if his mother was really sick, I was very close to my mom. I lost my mom. My heart goes out to him. But there is also a chance, and I don't know the fact, there's also a chance he was lying.
Yes.
And if he was lying, fuck him in the neck. That's all I got to say.
Right. And fuck his mother for taking part in it.
So that's my little comment about
Shit. That's a hell of a story.
Do you think, as you come by
and
Carson,
by the way, about grizzly bears, I don't want to interrupt
Sure,
you.
no.
A friend of mine was in the Geological Survey, and he was going up to go through Alaska. And when you go through Alaska, the Geological Survey, bears are an important thing to know about. So they all have to carry 44 magnums, right? And as they walk through the woods, you want the bears are very nearsighted, so you want them to know you're human. So if you're human, they won't fuck with you. So what you're supposed to do is go through the woods singing and talking as loudly as you can. And if the bear comes at you, you're supposed to point the 44 Magnum at their heart. And you're supposed to talk really loud to the bear because it'll probably turn around. And it tells you, this is so stupid, it tells you in the U.S. Geological Survey handbook for bears to have something memorized that you're ready to say to the bear. So my friend Wheeler, who's a geologist, I have a lot of friends who are and if you're a geologist listening, my favorite joke is Moe's hardness scale, but Moe of the Three Stooges and not Moe the geologist. So it's Moe's hardness scale of finger 2, eye 4, but that's not important. If there's a geologist listening to your show, they think it's funny.
He's
Moe's
howling right
hardness scale, MOE. Anyway,
You got any specific gravity bits?
not many, but I'll work them up for next time. So Wheeler says to me, I have to memorize something to say to the bear. You have to have it memorized because people choke,
Yeah. It's hard to improv in front of a bear.
Yeah, it's hard to improv in front of the bear. Nixon buying dope on the subway. Go. So you're supposed to hold the gun out. And I said, there's only one thing you say, Wheeler, and that's as the bear's coming at you, you hold the 44 and you go, I know what you're thinking, Bear. That I fire 5 shots or 6. Because to tell you the truth, in all the excitement, I've kind of lost track myself. But since I'm holding a 44 Magnum, most powerful handgun known to man, blow a bear's head clean off. You got to ask yourself, do you feel lucky? Well, Bear, do you? Is that what you're going to be? And in Alaska, that's what you're going to be doing.
That's it. And the bear would have to respond, I gots to know. I love how that guy goes, man, I gots to know.
Do you think that when you talk about Carson, do you think that when Uri Geller, Uri Geller got kind of ruined, it seemed, on Carson?
He did, yeah, he did.
Do you think that was Carson kind of happily sabotaging it?
Oh, no. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. Uri Geller was big for a minute there, in the 70s. And they were pushing to get a booking on Carson. And Carson said, no. And then Uri Geller got big enough that Carson said yes. And Carson immediately called James Randi of the Randi Educational Foundation, JREF on the web, called Randi. And he said, Randi, this fuck Uri Geller's coming on. What do I do to make sure he can't scam anybody? And Randy gave him a list of things. And one of the things was, which I loved, Geller, I'll have to do all this probable stuff because Geller is very litigious, and I do not want to monkey with Geller. So let's be very careful. Allegedly, sometimes it's possible that Geller has a fellow named Shippy who allegedly, possibly, sometimes comes into shows that he's doing, allegedly, possibly, sometimes as like a maintenance guy or something, and he is there where he could possibly, if Uri Geller does not have real powers, possibly facilitate some of his what could be called possibly tricks. Okay. Wow. So Carson, Randy says to him, make sure nobody gets on the lot that day. So Carson goes to security himself, and he makes badges with a Polaroid that are signed by Carson and says, on that day, anyone who gets in without this badge, you guys are all fired.
No, sir, I don't see your name on the list. No, sir, your name is not on the list.
And Carson says, I mean, if you let me on without this card, if you let me, Johnny Carson, on without this card, your ass is fired.
Wow.
No one's on this lot. So, allegedly, supposedly, from the story, which I didn't know directly firsthand, this particular asshole, who may or may not have been with Uri Geller, showed up like 6 times. Maintenance guy, sound guy, catering. He doesn't get on.
Holy shit.
Carson also says when Geller comes on, I want to keep the camera on you instead of on me, so no one can think you're doing anything tricky. But the best thing he does is Geller allegedly, possibly, could be doing switches for silverware in his pocket. Switches. So there was a young guy, I guess.
Would if that was true, would Geller or someone doing that possibly want a camera on both of them to give them a half a second?
He wants very much for the camera. I mean, when we do any sort of chat show, Teller insists on a monitor that we can see so that when they do the shot over to Letterman, we just do all the dirty work. if you've got to do a dirty move, why not do it with nobody watching? Isn't that easier?
Yeah.
Brilliant. You practice it forever, and then you say something funny. Camera goes to Dave. Okay, we're done. You can move. You can pull a monkey out of your pants at that point. So yeah, you're watching that monitor and seeing the camera off you.
Fuck, is that funny?
So he finds this guy, and I was going to say young guy, but a guy my age, so in the 70s, young guy. I believe it was Paul Gertner, who's about 19 years old at that time. And Randy puts Carson in charge of him. And Carson and he was a monster magician, just one of these close-up finger flinger guys, young. And Carson hires him as a page at NBC and says, when Geller comes in, you're in charge of making sure he's happy. Make sure he's taken care of. He's got the whole page coat, the whole thing like that. But he's one of the greatest young magicians in the world who is within a foot of Geller all the time.
He's watching every move.
Right. And he's doing stuff like, let me take your jacket and we'll send it out and get it cleaned. Get those pockets all cleaned out. And Geller now needs to get, allegedly possibly to do this, needs to get rid of Gertner. So he's saying stuff like, could I get something to eat? And Gertner goes, sure, we have anybody. Any food here you want. And he goes, yeah, I'd like, I just get some pizza? And Gertner gets on the phone. And Carson had already, because of Randy, set up like 3 guys to work for Gertner to run out and get anything. Just anything. So he's saying stuff like, I want sushi, but with a Pacific. And then just going boom, boom, sending people all over so Gertner never leaves.
Man, did Carson have a hard-on for this guy.
This is a great
Couldn't Geller have just said to him, could you leave the dressing room? I want to be alone?
Yes, he could.
Yeah.
And he would say no.
Oh, okay.
No, Mr. Carson wants to make sure you're taken care of the whole time. So you can watch this clip on YouTube because Carson does this. I mean, he almost sabotages his own show because Carson just kind of goes, go ahead, do something. And Geller's coat's clean. He's got nobody helping him. Now, it's possible he had real powers.
Of course.
Has real powers, and this negative energy is enough to fuck anybody up. I mean, that's the rationale.
And that is what he said, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But nothing gets accomplished.
What didn't happen? There was I just remember vaguely it was something to do with cups of water. Or
Yeah. He was able to tell. Oh, thank you. You left out part of the. I left out part of the story. This is great. he would do this thing with like canisters, like film canisters. And one of them had water in it and 7 of them didn't, right? And you'd mix them up and you'd be able to divine. You know, I haven't got the trick exactly right with the numbers and stuff, but that's the idea. Divine water in a container. And the way some people who think he doesn't have powers think he might have done it is to simply be signaled, which is simply, you know, you put one of your guys in the audience, he sees stuff while you got your back turned. It's a simple to code anything from the audience. You look over and he's touching his baseball hat. It's, you know what I mean? You don't need to have too much special coding.
Right.
You know, you can pretty much hold up a fucking sign. It's for douchebag. But that guy's not there, right? And Carson mixes the things up. And you can see this on the recording. It's very, very funny. Johnny also says to him, and put the things on a really heavy table. Because you can find other appearances where I mean, if he didn't have power, which we know he says he does, and there's no reason to doubt him.
Sure.
He does bump into the table. And of course, a table, when it's jiggled, the heavier container won't move as much.
Won't move as much.
And somebody who didn't have powers could figure it out the same way.
Sure.
Well, Carson puts these like containers on like a solid. It looks like a solid chunk of concrete. You know, like it's on. He's balanced them on top of the Washington Monument. You know what I mean? It just does not fucking move.
Building cornerstone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you can see him banging his fucking knee against this thing. And, you know, again, Carson's kind of, hope you don't hurt yourself there. But it's a solid table. And Carson keeps saying, which is the thing that's such a wonderful, beautiful thing, is Carson keeps saying, you know, we're taking all these precautions, Uri, because if you do these things on my show, no one will be able to doubt you. We're trying to help you here because a lot of stuff you've done has been sloppy, and this is being so careful, no one can turn against you if you do this. And he's out there, and Carson just lets him fucking die. I mean, Carson wouldn't let anybody die. I mean, if you're sucking out there, Carson takes over your spot and saves you. Yep. He'll throw you anything, softballs, boom. Carson would do what was necessary. Yeah. But Carson is just sitting there going, huh. So that would is supposed to be bending now, huh? You know, and Carson's not even doing jokes. I mean, never mind, he's not even doing mean jokes. He's just doing nothing. Just like, okay, we'll give him 10 minutes of dead airtime to fuck up. So, yeah, that was the whole thing. And it was all Randy and, you know, surrounding with magicians. Just great stuff.
Penn, why didn't Uri just bail on his appearance at that point?
You know, I think...
knowing that he's going to fucking eat it.
Fake illness or say he's sick or something,
yeah, because he knows he's going to eat it.
I think the answer is hubris. You know, when these guys... Now, I won't talk about Uri Geller now, because, of course, I don't know. But people that claim psychic stuff... It's amazing the shit that they'll do that they can get away with. You know, they will. There's always the chance, and this is a really good trick they use, is spilling hot coffee in someone's lap. That's what they do to journalists all the time. So the guy goes, motherfucker! And then you do your little move, right?
Oh, wow.
Or they always have to piss. They always have to vomit. They always have to leave the room. And you can always get lucky. You know, and one thing that psychics do that magicians don't do is they're ready to get lucky. Now, if I've worked on a card trick and I'm a magician, and I've worked on this really clever way to take the cards back and do a side peek, I'm going to hold the little break with my finger. And then when you give me the card back, I'm going to slide it, and I'm going to turn my hand, and I'm going to just barely see the index, you know. And I've worked on this slide peek in the mirror forever, and I've got it down perfect. And I'm doing the card trick for you. And I put the cards out, and you pick the card, and I'm ready to do my side peek. And you hold it up, and you're wearing glasses, and the reflection is perfect. And when you hold it up, I see the card in your glasses. Now, a magician does the side peek anyway. Fuck, I practiced it. I'm gonna do it. But a psychic will just take any opportunity you get. And it's amazing the opportunities you get. We did this bachelor party for Steven Spielberg. I don't know why you wouldn't want hookers, why you'd want Penn and Teller, but he wanted us to do a seance for him. We'd done these seances years ago. And Spielberg wanted, this is back in the 90s, so flew us out from New York. And he had, like, you know, the guest list was Harrison Ford and Dustin Hoffman, and, you know, everybody was a superstar, like 12 people. And we had, it was a very blasphemous seance. It was the real stuff that the seance people did with, you know, hailing Satan and all this stuff, really creepy stuff, all done with magic tricks, which we said at the beginning, all this is going to be magic tricks, we're going to play it real. And we had this incredibly unpleasant trick that we did where we had all these pictures of atrocities, you know, horrible, the most intense SM porn and war atrocities and all this stuff, like 20 of these pictures, right? And everybody was supposed to pick a picture that they had the strongest visceral reaction to. None of us are going to like these pictures, but the one you have the strongest visceral reaction to, you take it. So all 12 people, I guess it was like 50 pictures, all 12 people take one of the pictures, right? And then we mix them up, right? And then one is chosen at random. And then we pull out some blood and stuff, and the blood coagulates and forms this thing that says Doot 14. The audience figures out over forever what it is, and they go to the Bible. They open the Bible to Deuteronomy, and it's an exact description of how this woman is tortured in this porno. Right? Really creepy stuff. And so Teller and I have this move where they all pick their pictures, and then I'm to reach over when I'm doing it, and I cop the other picture, the hero picture, the picture that has to be picked. Okay? So they handed all their pictures. We've got 12. There's 13 there because I've thrown one in, right? And then Teller has this move that he has to do where he has to be dealing them out, and the person's going to say stop. I'm making it simpler than it is, but for understanding. And then he's going to do a slide on it and pull that out so that the one they're going to select is going to be the picture we need. And we've rehearsed this. It's hard. It's a two-person move. It involves social engineering. It's moving around.
Social engineering means you're talking and distracting, too?
Yeah. And you kind of tell them to do this and tell them to do that, and you're handling them, and there's all this shit you got to do. And we worked on it forever, years ago, but we haven't done it in 10 years, 15 years. So we're sloppy. We've run through it, but, you know, it's they've flown us out on the fucking private jet, and we're going to do the move. And this is the hardest move in the fucking whole thing. And we're kind of rusty, but the show's going well, but it's like 2 hours, and it's all only 12 people. It's one-on-one. It's this intense thing. And I got to come up and do this move. And, you know, I know we've practiced it and counted it and everything. And we turn the pictures over, and I give the introduction, you know, we're going to pick one of these pictures. And Spielberg decides, I mean, to be a dick is too strong a term. But he's having a good time. He's playing with his friends. And before I can say we're each going to pick a picture, before I can say we're going to turn them face down to not embarrass anybody, before I can do like 3 minutes of my fucking setup, Spielberg reaches and grabs one of the pictures and says, I want to use this one, and holds it up over his head. Oh. An absolute nightmare. Because now I have to say, no, I want everybody to pick a picture, and then we'll narrow it down. Fuck, jive, shit. But I've got to do this. So now I'm flop sweating and going, now I have got to bully Spielberg into doing this, and then make it so he doesn't remember me bullying him, and I got to get all this stuff in. And Teller is across the table from me. So when he picks up the picture, Teller can see it, and I can't. You know, and then he turns the picture toward me, and it's the hero picture. And I go, that's the one you want to use?
Yeah.
And, you know, he's now cut out the hardest part of our whole trick. And he's made it so that the rest of his life, unless some asshole gave it up on the radio, the rest of his life, no matter, you know, he can talk to Ricky Jay. He can talk to anybody that knows magic inside out, and they can never. You mean you picked it up, you held it up, he didn't tell you anything? That's correct. He didn't even say didn't touch it. Well, he must have touched it. You can't possibly get it. Just told you, and because I'm a professional, I just went with it. But because I'm not that much of a professional, I make eye contact with Teller and smile first.
Like, holy shit, what a stroke
like, look at our luck.
If I were really a good magician, I would have just moved. And I did do all the right stuff. I said, you want to change your mind?
Right,
Come on,
right.
do you want to? Do you want to change your mind? And I try to push him and make it very clear I'm trying to push him to change his mind so that he won't. And he goes, no, I'll keep this one. Well, do you want to mix it in with some other one? No, I'll keep this one. So at the end of it, it's an absolute miracle. So the reason you don't cancel that kind of stuff
You never know.
is you can still get lucky.
You don't know, right?
So if you're going to go out on Carson and he's going to be a complete hard-on to you and not give you a chance, and the table is cement, and Randy has talked to you, and your dressing room's been cleaned out, you've still got a chance of getting it by dumb luck. And if you get it by dumb luck, you are set forever. Because remember, the gamble that Randy's taking and that Carson is taking, and every time we bust one of these guys that we're taking, is that if it's a 1 in 10 chance, 1 out of 10 times you're going to get it. So you might as well try. I mean, if you...
Yeah.
If a guy comes up to you and says, oh, you're such a card magician, here's my own deck. I've shuffled it. No one has touched it. You can't see it. What's the top card? Well, you have 2 choices. One is you can go, well, I can't do that. And then you can do is go, Jack of clubs.
With conviction, and you got a 52-1 shot of hitting it right.
And if you hit it, there is no way for the rest of all those people's lives you're anything but super happy. And that's not a bad chance. You know,
No, you know what? Overall...
And it is, I was on, what show was I doing? I think it was Carson Daly. I was on there and got incredibly lucky again, where I was all ready to do this trick, and he just named a card out of nowhere that I happened to glimpse was the bottom card that was in his hand. And he was shuffling the cards, right? So he's shuffling the cards, and he flashes me the bottom card. So I see the bottom card. I happen to know what it is. And he's been shuffling himself. And he puts the deck down. And I'm going to do a whole different trick. I've got like 3 minutes planned. I got a trick planned. And I say to him, so, name a card. And he says, 7 of diamonds. And I say, I haven't touched that deck, have I? He says, no. I said, only you've shuffled it, is that right? He says, yes. I go, turn the deck over. He goes, 7 of diamonds.
Total luck.
And other people are going like, and then he's just going, I'm not in on this. I'm not, because now all the heat's on him.
Right.
Because only he knows it's a great trick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They would just, if I did it for you, they'd just go, fucking Anthony Lyons' ass off. Right.
He's a bullshit artist.
So he comes backstage and goes, listen, man, how did you do that? I said, I got lucky. He went, ha, ha, ha. How did you do that? I went, I got lucky.
Yeah, that wasn't even the trick.
How did you do it? How did you do it? I got, it's really, man, level with me. We're off the air now. I said, I got lucky. You flashed me the bottom card, you happen to name it. What are the chances of that happening? About 1 in 52.
1 in 52.
So you came out, your balls are so fucking big, you came out without a trick, and you just hoped you'd get lucky. No, I came out with a trick, and when I was lucky, I changed the trick. Let's do a different trick then, because it's easy. So, that's why you wouldn't cancel.
You do a very cool one, too, at the end of the live
yeah.
show, or it's in the middle or whatever, you and Teller, it's where you hand out books to everybody, and you guys guess what page they're on or whatever.
It's a joke. It's a joke book. I know the punchline to the jokes they're doing.
It's a fucking great, but what do they have to give you information before you know what page they're on? I don't remember exactly. What is it the audience says to you? I don't.
Well, I'm operating on 2 levels here because I know what the trick is.
Right. But I have no idea. So
exactly. So I could remind you now of the trick incorrectly and make it a better trick. What happens is...
Brilliant though, man.
It really is.
They bring a book from home I've never seen before.
Yes.
They open it to any page they want. They look at a whole sentence. They close the book up, burn it, and burn it right there in the theater. I say this only exists in your mind, and then I recite it back. No, none of that happens. We hand out joke books, and they go through and they pick a joke, and then through a series of questions, I ask them, I divine what joke it is. I do that a couple times, and then there's a prediction on stage where the punchline to a joke that a person in the audience is going to pick.
Right, okay.
And we do it very, very much with a joke book because we just want to hammer it home that it's gag, joke, show business, you know? And I love the idea that we're doing a better trick than the guys who are communicating with dead parents do, but we're doing with a joke book. You know, how fat's your wife? Were you thinking about how fat your wife is? Yes, I was. Boom. You know, but that's a trick we do, and that's one of the ones I'm really proud of, because when we started doing magic, the old timers would tell us, you cannot do mentalism unless you lie to people and say that there are real powers, and you have to use real emotionally charged things. And I would say it's morally wrong in a light entertainment to talk about someone's mother dying. That's not right. You know, and, you know, guys would brag, you know, I did this thing with this guy, we're talking about that, and I'm able to bring up his mother's middle name and said she loved him so much, and the guy's crying. And they say that as with pride. And I'm going, you fucking asshole. You know, this guy's got all you've got when a loved one dies, all you've got is their memory. And the part about this talking to the dead stuff that's never discussed. I mean, everybody discusses, well, it gives them some comfort, you know, But my mom and my dad and my sister are dead. And I was very close to all of them and loved them. And the most valuable thing I have, and I guess I have to carve out my children, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels it's more important to me than my children, are my memories of my mom and dad.
Sure.
And then some prick comes out and says, you know, I'm talking to Valda Jillette. I have her in my mind here, and she says from beyond the grave, she's happy and healthy and she's with her cat and everything's fine. Whatever he says there is, even if it gives me comfort, has taken away some of the real memory of my mom. And that part is never, everybody talks about the money. I don't care how much fucking money they steal from people. I mean, that's a bad thing. But stealing $1,000 from me is nothing compared to stealing a memory of my mom.
With that said, did you ever go after John Edwards for what he does?
We did a whole thing in general, but once again, on two subjects, more probably, but I'll give credit for two. On two subjects, South Park absolutely ate our lunch. And we did a thing on Talking to the Dead, and we did the best job we could, and went after John Edwards and did what I thought was a funny and heartfelt and intense show. And then Trey and Matt came out and did their John Edwards South Park. And when people ask me about that, I go, watch the South Park. I mean, ours is
you admitted
really
defeat?
Ours is really good.
Right.
Yeah.
But we were creamed by the South Park guys. And the other thing that got me on was I was having dinner with Trey, and I said to him, yeah, you know, we can't do Scientology. Showtime doesn't want us to do Scientology. They want us to stay away from Scientology. And Trey Parker, that prick, not only does the perfect Scientology show on South Park, but also says in every interview, you know, we did this because Penn and Teller couldn't. They said they weren't allowed to do it, so we went and did. So for Scientology and John Edwards, although I would love to be the guy on bullshit, I would love to be the guy that did all of these. We did some very good shows on bullshit. We didn't do any shows in our whole 8 years that were better than South Park's John Edwards show.
And with that, how does John Edwards do all that shit? Give that shit away.
You know, this is
basic. The basics.
This is the hard part of it. There's a few things that work with psychic stuff, and the reason you always have to be careful, like when someone comes to me and says, I saw John Edwards, he did this, how did he do it? I have to be very careful because sometimes you don't know.
Okay.
And you're going to get he's going to get lucky. But essentially, if you're doing a TV show, you shoot 4 hours and air a half an hour. And that's really all you need to know. To put psychic stuff into perspective of a card trick, we've already talked about this. If I go out on the street and say, take this deck, shuffle it, look at one card, is it the 7 of diamonds? You say no. We go, okay. After an afternoon of shooting, someone says yes. I mean, that's the simplest way. No, it's never done like that. But if you've got a 1 in 4 chance, you just shoot it that many times. So they do questionnaires beforehand to people before they go in. Who are you trying to get in touch with? Just fill this out on this piece of paper. Okay. Once you've written something, in any magic act, anywhere, once you've written something down on any piece of paper, assume that it's been published in the New York Times. The magician has it. And it used to be carbon paper, and now it's all radio fucking controlled. Anybody that gives you a clipboard, there's no time anyone uses a clipboard in the 21st century. No one uses a clipboard. When you go to a psychic show, it's nothing but clipboards because they know how to gimmick them. So you get this combination of stuff, and then you have to remember, if I say to you right now, I'm going to do a magic trick, I'm going to do a card trick, you tense up, you're watching me, you're very, very careful, you're a little guarded.
On guard, right.
Hold the card down like this. But if you are grieving over a dead loved one, and you are grasping for some hope, and someone comes in and says, I get the impression of an M. And you say, well, her name was Deborah, but we called her Mom, and we
You don't want to debunk it.
And you'll give
right. You're giving them the benefit of the doubt.
It's amazing the people that have.
So they're giving it up for you.
Well, of course they do, and
it's that hope. You just
have to be very. You have to be very careful to never ever blame the victim. You can't say,
right.
You listen to these tapes, and if you're cold-hearted and don't think about it being the guy's mother dying, your first thing is to say, you told him everything he tells you back. You told him when she was born, where she was born, and then he just told it back to you.
Yeah.
How stupid can you get? It's not how stupid can you get, it's how much pain you can be in, It's kind of like saying, that rapist is really good with women. Well, you're ignoring the gun. That's an important part.
Well, I'm
going to
take issue with that. do you have you seen any that were impressive to you that you were like even though
They did it well.
Or that actually confused you or made you go like, huh? Or have you never seen that?
There is the amazing thing about, James Randi offers $1 million prize to anyone that does something supernatural under test conditions. It's $1 million. It's in escrow. It's covered. Some of the money is mine. You just get that. Also, if you do this thing once, you get, you win a Nobel Prize pretty much.
Yeah.
You've changed all of physics. And there isn't anything that's even iffy anywhere.
Yeah.
There's just not one situation where people go, but you understand that I'm saying something different than I understand how every trick was done.
Right, yeah.
Because I don't understand, because I know, you can have that situation where you've got 4 hours of tapes of a guy doing stuff, trick, bullshit, bullshit. And, you're bound to be right. The story that I've heard, and I can't substantiate this, but this is hearsay, but a funny story. John Edwards was playing Atlantic City. Because, if you really care about people's loved ones who passed away, you're going to be playing a casino in Atlantic City. That's all you need for the argument, right? That's all
really
you need.
Is. Yeah.
He's playing a casino. Because, his stuff is as important emotionally as America's Horse with No Name. And he's in Atlantic City. And you all know Atlantic City. The audience and so on. So he gets up, and one of the things he does, and like I said, this is hearsay. I wasn't there. One of the things he does, he says, he's got an audience of 900 people. And he says, I'm getting the image of Greece. Does Greece mean something to people? And, there's a lot of Greek ancestry around Atlantic City. Pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
A woman raises her hand and says, my mother loved that musical. At which point John Edwards says, no, I meant the country.
Oh,
but, and then he covers and goes back to that. But
shit.
that's the kind of thing you can do. You can just, if you're opening your heart up, I can tear it apart.
Well,
of course.
We got Kathy from Long Island. She says, you're dead wrong, Penn.
Oh,
Kathy, go ahead.
Kathy's always good for something.
There's no doubt I'm dead wrong. About what?
Go ahead, Kathy.
I went. John Edwards used to tape his show in Manhattan, and I had actually been to his show twice.
Yes.
I was never read. I do have a friend that was actually two friends that were read by him during the taping of his show.
Yep.
There were never clipboards. There were never questions beforehand. The only thing I think you had to sign was some form of like a waiver or something, like allowing your image on television. But he never asked questions beforehand, or nobody ever asked you anything. You went in, you sat. It was like a horseshoe kind of setting.
I know. Well, yeah, we all know the setting. Yeah.
Yeah, but never. There was never any pre-interview or show questions.
So you believe he was communicating with the dead? That's the
only, and I do. I've always been interested in that kind of thing, but I will say only because I know the people that he connected with.
Sure.
And know that there was no relationship.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. No. Of course. And I would never question your friends. Certainly weren't lying. They certainly weren't set up. And I believe this completely to be sincere. All I would ask you is, if there was a loved one who had passed on, why do you think they would choose to go through John Edwards instead of directly to the person that they loved? Why would that be their choice? Because that's always been a mystery to me. I can't explain how the trick was done because I wasn't there, and even if I were there, they could have also got lucky. But just tell me that, because that, I'm a mama's boy. I was very close to my mom. Why would my mom choose to talk to a dipshit instead of me?
Well, I think because, for lack of sounding totally cheesy, it being a gift or something like that, I don't think a person could come directly through to me, per se.
That's right.
And get their point across, as opposed to someone that can visualize and vocalize it for me.
Yep.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
When you went with your two friends, right?
Yeah.
You're sitting there before the show. It doesn't normally just start the second you sit down. It must have been a very quiet time. You three didn't talk about anything while you sat at your seats?
Nope.
No,
Not a peep. Didn't say anything. And there's no chance that there could have been microphones in a television studio that could have picked up any discussion anyone said about who they might hope that they got in touch with?
No, because you know what? I can tell you that specifically in my situation, no. Obviously, I wouldn't know about other situations. But
right.
Because my girlfriend was very quiet about it because she was so afraid and leery of what she was going to hear. She did not.
What was she afraid of?
No, not afraid, but she wanted to be able to say that it was that if it happened for her, that it was legitimate. And there was no discussions of anything or anybody that we were hoping.
Penn's a lot nicer. Penn's a lot more diplomatic than I am. I'm going to say for the record, your friends stink. Those two dumbbells.
Why would you think that?
Because I don't believe that they talk to fucking dead relatives.
John Edwards, in my opinion,
John Edwards
is a carny.
That's my opinion.
Hey.
In my opinion.
I'm just saying carnies are okay.
Yeah, don't shit on carnies like that.
I believe your friend are dumbbells.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So you believe it went down like it went down?
Yeah, I do. Only because I was a witness to it, and they were both on the television show.
Yeah, but also...
Wait. Can I ask her, Penn, what did John Edwards say that got her and you convinced, like, holy crap, he's talking to her?
It was specifics about my girlfriend's sister's health situation.
Whoa. What were those specifics? What were those specifics?
I can't. I won't get into it on the radio. I wouldn't do that to her because.
But you got it on the television.
We don't know you.
Yeah.
That was her choice.
Well, you're not saying her name, Deb. We don't know her name. There's no connection to her. We don't have your last name. We don't know her name. So you're not breaking her anonymity or confidence at all because we don't know who she is.
But you do understand that people who die of something. So it's a very safe bet to go for an injury or to go for a disease or an illness. And you also know that there are tables of what people are most like to die on. And you also know when you're looking at someone, you get a reaction from them. If you talk to try an experiment for me, Deb. Just next time you're next to a stranger, like on a bus or a train or a plane. Instead of thinking when you're talking to that person about what you're going to say next, next, or how you want to present yourself, or what you're trying to do. Try to find out how much you can find out about that person just by listening, the way they handle themselves, the way they look, what their rings look like, what their jewelry look like. And you'll find out that if you pay attention to other people instead of yourself, this might be one of the only good things about this. If you're not thinking about what you're going to say next, and if you really watch people, they will give you a huge amount of information. And one of the things that the people do is every time this is burlesqued, people do a whole thing like, did they die of heart, cancer, brain? I see a leg injury. I see, but it's not ever done that grossly. But if you are talking to someone and I've watched hours of tapes of people in psychic readings, as I'm talking right now to you, and I look over. He's nodding. He's doing these big nods as I'm speaking. Yes. That's the way human beings talk to one another. And unless you're trained, and trained is important to not give up stuff, you do very much give up things just by people looking at you. I would also say, and this is the thing that is so hard to communicate to people. I don't know what you do for a living, but whatever you do for a living, while you were doing that and learning that and studying that, guys like me were studying how to trick people. And one of the things you get is very smart people, like doctors, will come to you and say, they'll see our show, and afterwards they'll go, I'm a smart guy, and I watched that whole show, and I couldn't figure it out. You must have had a plant in the audience because I couldn't figure it out. And I go, well, I'm not a smart guy, but I'm an okay guy, and I study stuff too. And yet, if you were in the middle of doing a vasectomy, I could not walk in and take over. And that 100 hours you spent learning to chop the exact right millimeter out of that cock. That's the amount of time I spent learning to find your freely selected card. And you have to remember that just because you can't figure it out does not mean it's supernatural. This goes to a lot of this. Unidentified flying objects, UFOs. There's a lot of stuff I can't identify, and that doesn't automatically mean it's from another planet and living.
Yeah.
So the fact that something happened for him to be able to tell you things that you can't figure out how he got the information doesn't necessarily mean that the only choice is that the dead were talking to him. It's possible there are other stuff. So all I'm saying is I don't know as an answer. You don't know does not automatically mean supernatural. And I will just say to you, and this is an important thing to remember, you do know for a fact that people lie. You do not know for a fact that the dead come back and talk to people. So if you have to choose which one that is, you might want to go with one you've had experience with, and just leave open the possibility, one, that the soul of someone you loved very much chose to communicate with somebody in a studio in New York on TV, or also possible in the same list of possibilities, you were dealing with a lying sack of shit. I mean, just give me that.
To each his own, then, right?
Not to each. No. Exactly. Not to each his own.
No.
I will leave open the possibility that someone can communicate with the dead if I see evidence, but please leave open the door just a crack that someone might have lied to you in a very malicious and terrible way.
And why do they
just as a possibility? It's not because I want to believe one thing and you want to believe another, but let's together say that there are many things we don't understand, and we always have to factor in malicious love of money is one reason.
Kathy, as the dummy, I got to ask you this: why does John Edwards talk in a vague way to get to the answer if he has this superpower?
Well,
he's very vague, and then finally has the answer.
With my situation, it wasn't vague. Well, with my friend's situation, I should say.
Was this aired?
Yeah.
And have you watched it since?
I probably not in a couple years. I mean,
Yeah, why would you if someone
If someone's talking to the dead.
Yeah, I would watch it every fucking day.
Every day I'd be, oh my
like,
fucking
holy
God.
shit, this is a miracle.
We spoke to the dead.
Why don't you just throw it in with the rest of your DVDs?
And I also...
I'll get to it eventually again. The time that
Beverly
someone
Hills
talked to
Cop
my
3
friend
is on.
from the grave.
I gotta watch that first.
Is that why
Jesus.
he's off? Like, he was huge for a second, like on everywhere, and now he's kind of disappeared. Is because he's a scam? Because he was going to get caught?
No. He wasn't running away. But these things go in cycles. I think one of the things that hurt him, and when we were pitching bullshit, we pitched it 2 weeks after 9/11. So I was going into these places pitching a skeptical show after the biggest tragedy on American soil, and it was weird because although it was an appropriate show, because we should be skeptical of rabid believers, especially after we saw what rabid believers can do, the horror they can bring about, it still felt wrong. And I remember going into a few of these places and saying. I said, I'm not psychic. I have no powers. I don't believe in any of that. But I'm going to make a prediction. This is 2 weeks after 9/11. I'm going to make a prediction that is just from experience that you may not believe. I predict that within 6 months, John Edwards will announce a show where he is going to talk to the dead of 9/11.
Oh, my God.
And I said, when he announces that show, you people in this room, I was pitching this to the studio that had John Edwards, the network. I said, you are going to feel awful because you were part of this horror. And I'm going to sleep okay because I at least told you to try to tell the truth. And they all thought it was too intense. And I think it was like 4 months later.
Wow.
John Edwards announced that his next show was going to be talking to the dead of 9/11. He actually did. And I remember some of the people we did the pitch for called us up and went, holy fuck. And instantly, the whole country turned against John Edwards. And he pulled that show back. He never did it. He just announced it. And I think that was kind of sort of a slight turning point for John Edwards.
The beginning of the end there. Huh?
Well, I just think that there's a certain kind of proof that people aren't at a certain level believing it, that they're just kind of watching it and saying it's possible, and this happens to my friends, and it's kind
trying
of
to figure out
fun.
how he's doing it.
And we're kind of having fun with it, and maybe it's making these people feel better. And then there's a line. Now, once again, if America really was stupid, like Hollywood thinks they are, and America really was believing John Edwards hook, line, and sinker, when he announced he was going to talk to the dead of 9/11, we would all be, woohoo, to be able to communicate with these people. That would be wonderful. And the fact that even people who watched the show thought it was in bad taste shows that some part of them, when they're watching this show, is going, I don't know.
I'm buying that shit. Yeah.
Otto's been on hold for forever. Otto,
yeah,
I
he wants to say
apologize. Otto from Otto and George.
God damn! How you doing, Otto?
And we know you're a big fan, Penn Jillette, so we wanted Otto to call in today. What's up, Otto?
Good morning, Mouth.
Hi, Otto.
One of the things that I've since we have Otto, one of the thing when people do possessions and regressions and past life regressions, I've always thought that they were, as a friend of mine, Jamie Ian Swiss, a close-up magician, said, all these people are just ventriloquists, but not very good because their lips move. I would love to see you possessed by the spirit of George. And have George, you should do a whole act where George dies, comes back from the dead, and possesses your body and speaks with you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm actually doing seances to talk to a dead relative. It's $100, and to talk to him while I drink a glass of water, it's $150. I gotta say, to see Penn and Teller at the Rio is an amazing experience, and they're so cool. They actually talk to all the fans after the show. They hang out and take pictures, which is very rare. It's an awesome night out for anybody who's in Vegas. Just wanted to say
Well,
that.
thank you so much.
I went to the show. I actually liked it a lot. I don't go to. I shouldn't say actually like I was surprised, but I mean, I'm not saying it like that. I enjoyed it very much.
I want to go so bad.
It
Man.
was fun.
too.
It was a fun show.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fucking awesome.
I'm always at the
It's
Palms, and
great.
it's right across the street, and I never get to go. I want to go so bad. I went to the Titanic Museum.
You didn't have to choose to say that with me sitting right here.
What?
Yeah.
I was across the street. I didn't bother going. I went to see the
I-
Titanic Museum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a-
I was trying to
it's a
get you to
very
go.
cool
No, come
show.
by. I'll
And
hook you up.
Penn's
Don't worry
been
about
great
it.
to me,
Come on,
put me
come by. I'll hook you up. Don't worry about it.
Come across the street to my show with the Pantages.
What were you singing instead, Bob? Aces High.
Aces High. Ace Rothstein.
Otto, what were you saying? I'm sorry, man. You got stepped on.
Yep.
I was just saying, every time I used to play at the Riviera, Penn would bring like 30 or more people to see me. Come like 2 nights in a row.
That's
It's
cool.
Awesome.
I met Penn and Teller very briefly as you guys were leaving an Otto and George show. I was out there with Dice, and we were off one night, and I went and saw you at one of the hotels. It might have been the Riv, and you guys were leaving, and I asked for a photo, and you both took it together and wanted no part of me.
Oh, yeah? You weren't in the fucking photo?
No, of course I was in the photo between them. It's a very rare get.
I saw the Bullet Catch show you guys did years ago.
We still do.
I guess it was
We still do the bullet. We can't. We have to do the bullet every show.
Yeah, it was like when you first started doing it in Boston. I think I saw it.
Yeah,
and it was the whole show was amazing. I loved it.
Thanks so
Loved
much.
it.
We got to get him out.
Really? Fuck. That fast?
Why is Roland
Roland,
throwing
you
Penn out?
suck.
Why are you throwing Penn out?
5 minutes?
We have to plug the book, which, by the way,
We have to. I can't wait to read
I've
this
read
book.
50 pages of it, and it's fucking great, man. I mean, you're a great writer, and I had a bunch of stuff.
Great storyteller. You kidding me?
I loved. Let me say, I love the stuff on Siegfried and Roy. Where you go out, it sounds like you're going to be shitty to them, and then all of a sudden you just give this glowing, loving talk. It's very funny about what they are as superstars. I thought it was really touching.
You know, the thing about Siegfried and Roy that killed me, you know, when I first, you know, it's so easy to make fun of them, right? I mean, Siegfried and Roy were the easiest guys in the world to make fun of, but there was a sincerity, you know. You show up. We would go to these like charity functions, you know, and you got to show up to show
Is
you
he
still have
better?
show
Is
business.
the guy who got attacked, did he get better?
Roy Horn.
Oh well, no, he got his head bit off by a fucking tiger. You don't get better. I mean,
Positive, I heard.
you know, it was, I mean, that night the night that happened, it was so, you know, Tell and I came off stage, and I had been, I'll just say, I was at Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey Greatest Show on Earth. I was around these tigers and lions, and I terrified of them.
Oh, shit.
Terrified
Yeah.
of them. Terrified of them. And I would like when there was anything going to be done with a tiger, I would like hide in the other room and close the door because you don't know. I mean, even if you have the tiger trained, you don't know if your tiger happens to be the Charlie Manson of tigers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Every living thing goes crazy. You know, what if the elephant you're on is, you know, Ted Bundifant? You know, what if that's his particular mental illness? You don't know. I'm not an elephant shrink.
Or if he
you
has
know?
Down syndrome.
So, you know, I would
Christ,
say
that was terrible.
I would say to Roy, you know, you do the nuttiest thing in show. I mean, like the old time lion tamers, I mean, before our time, like Frank Buck, and in our time, you know,
Indiana Jones hat and the whip, the chair.
Good to Gable Williams,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I'm training the beast. And he would do this thing that I thought was insane. And I talked to Roy about this all the time, which was you're doing something so dangerous and so impossible, and you're playing it off as no big deal. Oh, these are just, and no one else in show business does that. You know, they're always going, you know, he's an amazing guitarist. He plays an E chord. You know, just, no one's ever done this before. No one
I
ever
never
got this.
even realized that. Yeah, they took that element of danger out of it and made it look like they're friends with these cats.
Yeah.
They trained them to do all kinds of
The most
tricks
abstract thing you could do. You know, the whole idea of we're not even going to play up the most important part of it. So when it happened, you know, we get off stage, and you know, Roy was attacked, and Tell and I rushed over to the hospital, and then this crazy thing happened. I mean, I'd always make jokes about Siegfried and Roy. I always trashed them. I always, you know, contrasted our show with their show. It was all of this. But I also, they were a team, and they invented magic in Vegas. And kind of off my bluff was called because when I got there, Bernie, their manager, said to me, none of us want to talk to TV or radio, and we're all in the room with Roy, and we're all too broken up. Would you do all the press stuff for us? Jeez. So all of a sudden, I'm the one that had all the reports of the doctors and stuff, and CNN is calling, and I'm on there, and interviewers are going, didn't you make fun of Roy all the time? And it was just this real clear idea of what showbiz is. Yeah, I'm fucking with you. I'm making fun of you, but now we get real. And also because I have done things on stage that look dangerous, nothing that dangerous. Someone getting hurt is horrific no matter what. But this was really close. This was another Magic team where one guy was fucked up and their show was over.
That was it. And
so I was there for like all night and all the next day and doing all this and watching this whole thing. But what amazed me about Siegfried and Roy was just the level of pure, honest, heartfelt show business. I mean, if Siegfried and Roy were still working, and I came on this show and did shit about them fucking tigers, and did stuff that was slightly gay type gags, and made fun of them and trashed them and did this whole thing. We could trash them for a half an hour, and I could bet my life that the next day on my voicemail would be a call from Siegfried going, I want to thank you. You were on the Opie Anthony show. Thank you for mentioning our name. Thank you for our kindness. Yeah. Absolutely. Every time and then I would show up, to do these like charity things, red carpet stuff, and I show up in jeans and a fucking t-shirt, and I'm walking down the red carpet and they're taking pictures and you're waving. And then I walk up to Siegfried and Roy and they're wearing like, yak dressing gowns and tuxedos.
They were all about it.
And their makeup is perfect and their hair is perfect. And, at first you think, well, how fucking stupid and pretentious and da-da-da-da is that? And then I would just stand there going, now, which one of these people is doing their job? You know what I mean? How many people are going, I really want to see a guy walking down the red carpet looking like he's here to fix the toilet. That's what I want to see. I want to see a guy in jeans and T-shirt, so I really love them. And
you called them superstars, and you said it was superstars that made them seem like it. That was a great chapter.
Oh, thanks.
And there's also a great chapter on, and I know he's leaving, but about very religious Jews who have had experiences with you where they're kind of questioning God, and it's a really fucking great book.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I can't wait to read it. Penn, you're always a great guest.
You know what you can do right now?
Penn
to be a
on
great
Twitter?
host?
Yeah.
You can actually read the title of the book.
God, no. God, no. Signs you may already be an atheist and other magical tales. I think a lot of people are going to pick this book up, man.
Or download it at least. Download, because a lot of bookstores are closing, so if you can't get in a bookstore, just grab it on
We
your
only
your
mentioned the
Kindle or
book
your iPad.
once?
That's all you said the title.
That's not good.
My God,
That's not going to help.
man.
This was a waste of time on your part, but not ours. We got a lot of great radio out of you today.
I tried when
We
Penn
tried,
came
but
in,
you were talking
everybody-
the whole time, Penn. Maybe
sorry, my
you
fault.
should have mentioned your own book once or
book.
twice.
I'm on Twitter, Penn Jillette, PENNJILLETTE. Remember, it's a J on Gillette. And my book is called God Knows, Signs May Already Be an Atheist and Other Magical Tales.
Looks like
Is
a great
Bullshit
book.
coming back?
And
Bullshit's not coming back. We're moving over to the Disco Channel, which the Disco Channel is not like us calling it the Disco Channel. They want us to call it the Discovery Channel. There's a time Discovery became Disco. We got a show coming out called Penn and Teller Tell a Lie that'll be out in October.
Oh, great. That's one of my favorite
Yeah,
shows of all
absolutely.
time.
I know.
All time.
And we'll mention the book a few more times
Yes.
after you leave there, Penn.
I'm sure you will.
We certainly will.
we
You're a
will.
friend of the show,
Damn it.
bro.
I like talking to you guys. I get carried away. It's not. I don't just come in here to pimp and hawk.
We love
Fuck
it.
no,
It's
you give us some great
fantastic,
shit.
man. It really is.
All right, Penn
Insightful.
Jillette,
Thank you.
everyone.
I'm gonna
Thanks,
go,
man.
you just go from one room
Oh, yeah,
to another
one
here.
to another.
And they start out here, make me really happy. Now I'll go talk to some dipshits. Come on.
And Otto says bye. He's still on the phone.
Okay, man.
Thanks, Otto.
Good luck, everybody.
All right.
All right, buddy.
And
See you
Penn
soon.
Jillette, and we'll take a break,
Otto.
and we'll finish next.